Hi, welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays with Nurse Rachel. I am joined today by Anita, and she's going to tell us all about her reflexology and reiki business, and how she helps parents. So Wellbeing Wednesdays are weekly wellbeing sessions with guest speakers on one of 4 topics. We have health and wellbeing, parenting, which is tonight, pets and hobbies, and business. And these happen at either 12:30 or 8:30 p.m. each week. And that's because I don't like to work late at night every week. But I know that some people are only available to do interviews on an evening when they're no longer doing their regular work. So I have to be flexible as well. So ground rules for our guests in studio, or the Zoom room: no rude behaviour, that includes the babies, immediate removal. Can we do that? So we share the interview to YouTube. Swallow my own spit. Great start to the evening. We share it to YouTube. So hi, comments below, tell us if you've enjoyed it. The content is the business owners' content. We'd love you to take what you can from this. If this is valuable information and it is their own, so please bear in mind this is for personal use. If you have enjoyed the content, then please get in touch with Anita or myself and buy us a coffee or buy our products. We really love it when we hear that touched my heart. If we hear thank you, it really meant something to me to watch this. This is what we're doing it for. Yes, we're businesses. Yes, we have things that we sell. We've got products, services. But even just hearing thank you, it means a lot. So thank you doesn't cost anything. Our shares doesn't cost anything. But I do have a Ko-fi account that supports my newly formed parent sanctuary, which helps parents in lockdown in their mental and physical health. And as we're emerging, we are going to be doing more work with family fun days out, with work in schools, loads of exciting things on the horizon. So that's ko-fi.com/parent sanctuary. And I have to remember to breathe. It's the most important thing. I feel like you're already giving me Reiki now. Are you already sending it to me? I'm Rachel. I'm a mum of 4 small people. I am a registered nurse. I'm a transformational coach. I've trained with my Mental Health Rocks, which means that I can go into schools and help schools, teachers, parents with understanding their mental well-being. I'm a sling librarian with slinglibrary.com, and I work with Enya, transforming homes to be chemical free. I'm not sure when I sleep, because I'm also the founder of Parent Sanctuary with Nature Walks for Wellbeing and Crying Colic and Allergy Clinic. And that's because of my own journey with allergies, with myself, with my children. When you are juggling who can eat what, and everybody's got a different diet in the house, it is tough, but we get through it, and we have a nutritional balanced diet. So if I can just hold someone's hand while they work it out, then that's brilliant. But tonight is all about Anita. So we're going to do a little breathing exercise, and then I'm going to hand over to Anita. And this is because my children are in that flurry of activity stage, and we've had flour scattered all over the kitchen. And Mummy, we're doing snow angels. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? And it's hard sometimes to remember to take that deep breath and think about how you want to react. Sometimes we react and we hear our own mother's voice coming out. Sometimes we react and we hear sharp, short, snappy answers coming out of our mouths that we don't want our children to do to us. And yet we find ourselves there doing it to them. So we have to remember how to meditate in a moment, which is my own little thing that I've learned through various readings, teachings, and just an insight moment where anyway, we will remember that our lungs are here for breathing. So often we keep our shoulders up by our ears, and we need to remember to take a deep breath and breathe all the way into the bottom of our lungs. When we take these deep breaths, it means that we are getting more oxygen into every cell of our body, and our cells really, really thank us for it. Whilst we're breathing, we can think about how we'd like to react. Now, this isn't about counting to 10, because if you are in that fight, flight, or freeze mode and you count to 10, you can get there in a count of 3. So this is just about remembering to breathe slowly. And then, how do you want to react? So I'm going to hand over to Anita, and she can tell us a little bit about herself, and she can tell us a little bit about her business, and she can tell us, oh, he's gone to sleep. She can tell us all about how she helps parents. I'm just going to mute myself while I get this one to sleep.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name's Anita Blizzard, and I own AnitaBee Holistic Therapies. It's a mobile service that's based in Southampton but travels out to surrounding areas. I'm predominantly Reiki, reflexology and relaxation. That's my 3 core things. I do a couple of other therapies that work hand in hand with that sort of ethos, but I don't sort of spread myself too thin. I just do the relaxation through Reiki and reflex. Started 7.5, qualified 7.5 years ago. Started my business straight away with the Reiki as well. I practiced the Reiki and the reflex. I was studying those at the same time. And to be honest, I think it was a good mix to actually do at the time as well, because studying sort of part when you're working as well is hard. I had to do a lot of things that I hadn't done for years, like anatomy and all sorts of things that I didn't realise was actually that involved in reflex, to be honest, when I started. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, it's just a foot massage, but when you actually then go into training, you suddenly realise it opens this whole world of of anatomy and body systems and energy systems and all sorts. So I was quite glad I was doing the Reiki training as well, because that did help me sort of ground quite a bit and get myself sort of quite focused without sort of freaking out over quite a lot of things. Once I qualified, I was naturally drawn to working with parents, children, and families. My previous work before had been in those areas. I'd worked in a creche, I'd worked for social services and children and families. I've registered daycare facilities. So it's always sort of based around that sort of area, and I loved it. I loved working with families and their children and helping parents out, caregivers out, and the children as well. I then had my own child, who's now 23. So I left that. I thought, no, I'll look after my own child. And I think as well, what that sort of building on experiences, even though I've done all that work before, when you have your own child, it's completely different. It's completely different. You know, thinking, oh, I'll be fine. I've done the, you know, I know the development. I've worked with all sorts of children, all sorts of backgrounds. You know, I know it all. But then as soon as yours pops out, and that's it. It's a lot of it's out the window because you're in a completely different space. And as he's sort of grown older as well, some of the, I mean, obviously the education event does come through, but I found that I felt myself quite lucky as he's got older, that I did have that experience with him and the education as well. And I think that's what sort of pushed me forward with working with parents and that as well, because I had very good support. You know, the things that I didn't know. I had people that had children of different ages, so it was quite good as he was going through different ages and stages. Then I had people there as well. So I think that's sort of what pushed me towards sort of doing what I was sort of doing now. The one thing as well, because it's the relaxation thing, I found that I pushed myself a lot when he was small. I felt that I had to be awake, I had to do this, I had to do that for everybody else. So I sort of crashed and burnt quite a few times. So I think that's sort of what led me towards the relaxation side of parenting, and well, even before parenting, of conception, pregnancy, parenting, postnatal, because that was the one element that I didn't actually do a lot of, and I sort of paid for it a little bit. So I think, to me now, that's one of the important things. It's like you really do have to look after yourself. I wasn't doing that.
I have to agree there that that was part of my journey. There's nothing wiser than a parent that has never had children. Like how I'm going to be a parent and how I am a parent are completely different statements until you're actually holding that child. I changed in a heartbeat, even during pregnancy. The things I thought I was going to do with my mat leave, I think we're still waiting for them to happen now. And you kind of you rebirth yourself. It's not just the child that's born, the parent is born. And the burnout, I produced 2 children in 2 years and did a master's. Like, yeah, I did have anxiety, and that was part of my driver, healing myself, and the struggle with the normal channels that did not have any effect on me. In fact, they made me worse in some cases. And it wasn't until I came to this understanding and had a level of human connection that I felt better.
Yeah. And and do you find it was once you got that sort of connection or reached sort of those sort of thoughts and those sort of feelings, everything seemed to flow a little bit easier and a little bit, and I don't know, I mean, I find a lot when I was doing the Reiki especially, because your energy just completely changes. It completely changes when you're pregnant, completely changes when you're a parent. But then doing the Reiki as well, it then completely changed again, and I was able to look back and actually, and it went for, well, probably a good 10 or so, 15 years, I actually realised almost like the state of my mental health when I, just after I'd given birth, because you'd also know everything's fine, everything's good, everything's, you know, and I did feel good. But then looking back now, I'm thinking, oh, perhaps you should have taken a little bit of time out there and looked after yourself, and, you know, and I can see that sort of how that sort of manifested later on. And I think that's why I like doing what I do now, is like, it's being able to offer those sort of things to people, or even if it's not through me, but because of the people that I meet, saying, actually, have you tried this? Have you tried? It's almost like a sign, you know, where I can also sort of say to people, just sort of take a little step back, just sort of, you know, just have a little think, but not in an intrusive way. I found a lot of things when my son was younger, they were very regimented, and it was either you do this, you do that, or you go here, you go there. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of baby groups because I found them very, oh, it was that sort of regimented and very sort of quite competitive. and I'm not competitive at all, really, in that respect. And I found them quite awkward as well. So a lot of the parents that I do see are of similar thoughts, where they don't feel not they don't fit in, it's just that they can't find the thing that's going to click with them. So I try and help them do that. Through the reflexology as well, that helps. I mean, once you've got a level of stress removed, you can think a lot clearer, you can focus a lot more. So that's sort of like the first sort of like stage one of meeting anybody, for whatever reason, is to actually help them remove some of the top coats of stress, and then they can really get down into thinking, oh, that feels a lot better. I can now see the wood for the trees almost.
Absolutely. Finding your tribe. Your tribe is out there. If you're feeling alone right now, your tribe is out there. Keep trying. Don't feel like you're alone. Reach out to someone like myself or Anita. It might be that we already know where people who you would feel comfortable with are hanging out, and we can sort of guide you towards that zone. I was given baby books to read when I had my children, well, my first, and I read this book and I remember thinking, well, he's a little bit little for that, so maybe that comes in when he's a little bit older. That doesn't feel right to me. I'm just going to keep doing this because maybe he's too young for this part of the book. Maybe this part of the book isn't right for my son. And I was really sort of following my instincts. And I've since learned that mothers are incredibly good at being instinctive when their children are tiny. And that's why when we go to the doctors and the doctor says, oh no, it's fine, there's nothing wrong, we go back again and we say, but there is something wrong. And sure enough, they throw a fever, or they throw up all over the back of the car, or it's something worse. We know.
Yeah.
And I think doctors are really starting to listen to that mother's instinct a lot more now. I think there's more studies that are sort of showing how connected we still are in the fourth trimester. So yeah, you're instinctive. And if it doesn't feel right for you, trust it. Like, don't fight against it, question it, try and work out if it is something that needs action, or if it is a sign of anxiety or postpartum depression. You know, if you feel uneasy about something, there might be a reason why.
Yeah, and I think as well to sort of question everything, you know, sort of question, look, or not question anything, but look for answers. You know in yourself and your instincts that if something's not right, and if you're not getting the right answers from someone, it's to have that sort of courage to think, no, I'm actually going to find out more about this. I do want that extra support and things like that, rather than, that's because I found a lot of the time, or I've heard from a lot of sort of parents that I've worked with, sometimes they get shut down. That's like, oh, just do this, just do that, just, go with sort of like the flow in that respect. But like I say, not connecting with themselves and not connecting with, that little bond that you've got with your children. And you know them, don't you? You just know by looking at them.
So in following instincts, I did then end up meeting my tribe, and through my tribe I was introduced to a world of like evidence-based studies that backed up all the things that I had been doing, and gave me the courage to stand against what I felt were societal norms in some ways. And my tribe, we're all doing it too. So then I wasn't in a I wasn't the odd one out. I was in amongst lots of people who were doing the same sorts of things as me. And I had a whole load of studies to read to keep myself occupied.
It's having that trust as well, knowing that, like you say, if things do feel, if you are feeling sort of lonely or you're not being listened to, knowing that there will be people out there that are going to listen to you. Sometimes it just means, you have to like find them. But I mean, I'm a big believer of, law of attraction in the universe and things like that. And people turn up when you need them. If you're open enough to accept help, because sometimes that's a very difficult thing in itself. But yeah, if you open up, I think the people that you need will come to you, offering help or whatever you need. And it's almost like little magnets. We'll all find each other in the end.
I'm actually reading it.
To give up, not looking, or say, not settling for.
And now
or something that
it's just coming in and out at the moment. I'm just going to give it a second. I am actually reading a book about this, that we can, if we're constantly thinking about how bad things are, then we are shown signs that will support that message. And it's not to say that you think yourself into bad situations, but if we're always looking for the negative, we can always find it. If we're always looking for the positive, we can find it. And sometimes it's just nice to know that both are out there, and which one do you want to focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I like sort of like the birth rock sort of philosophy, and out of the positive birth, and why it works so well with the reflex and the reiki, is because it was just that. It's like, women and parents are getting bombarded with negative messages a lot of the time, nearly all the time. The big focus is on certain aspects of pregnancy and birth, rather than, I mean, you want to acknowledge them, you want to be open-minded, and you want to know about certain things. But a lot of parents, and I've worked with, especially some of the younger parents that I've met, I don't know if it's just like I say, but I was finding I was meeting a lot of younger mums who were just being told, right, this is what you've got to do. They were given all the negatives, but none of the positives. They were being told certain things, or you've got to go to the hospital. And I said, have you ever considered a home birth? And they were like, well, no, we've got to go to the hospital. I said, why have you got to go? So, because some people do the hospital. And they're like, no, that's just what we've been told. And it's like, and then all the fears would come up. And I said, does anybody explain this? Do you know actually what to do in that situation? They're like, well, no. And that's why I sort of filled in the gaps with the birth rock things, because there was lots of things that people weren't either not being told, or they wouldn't even consider. I felt they were being railroaded into certain situations and ways of thinking, rather than thinking, what would I want to do? How do I want to have my pregnancy? What would be nice about some pregnancy, rather than seeing the constant negative.
Your body, your birth. What would happen if we wait? I knew as soon as I found out I was pregnant that I wanted a second home birth. And then I went for an early scan, so before I'd even met the midwife. And the early scan came back with it's twins, of course, like that plummet of oh fantastic. It kind of like you just bombarded with thoughts, and I was like, oh, actually that's really, really good, that's doubly blessed. So then I was like, oh well, naturally conceived, twins, home birth, of course. Like there was no question. It was like they've not been put in there by anybody else, so we don't have any extra complications. Fit, healthy, given birth before. I feel confident in my body's ability to birth, and I'm going to home birth them. Midwife question. So which hospital would you like to give birth in?
Yeah.
Bearing in mind she's known me for all three pregnancies. And she's like, so which hospital? At home. She turned green. She actually turned green. It is a scary thing for midwives, because they're not practiced in it, and it's not something that comes up very often. Twins don't come up very often, and home births don't come up very often, and the potential of breach doesn't come up very often. So they were very, very wary of the risks and wanting to make sure that the risks were managed, and I did too. I didn't want a silly birth. I wasn't going to be doing it against all medical advice. I can't say against medical advice because it was against medical advice, but the risk factors for a home birth with me were low.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of the pregnant women I was talking to, some of them had children before with no complications whatsoever, all straightforward, absolutely no reason why, but they weren't even given the choice of considering it. And that's what sort of irked me a little bit. It's the fact that, well, no, I wouldn't. I said, I'm open to everything. I'll say to people I work with, your choice is your choice. You can have hospital pregnancy, whatever you want, as long as you're comfortable with it, and that's what you want. I've seen a lot of the younger ones were getting sort of railroaded, and we're not even just giving them information. I said, have you asked? I said, oh no, I haven't asked, but I said, we're going to ask. You'll see what they say, see what people say. They might surprise you. And some did. I mean, it all depends on circumstance and where you live and who you're with, but I think you just ask, just see what your options are, and sort of find out a little bit more about your options. They are out there. And have the confidence to sort of think,
even in cesareans, having that conversation with what is the normal procedure, and how can we make this my birth, not not an operation, because it is an operation. It's always going to be an operation, but there's ways in which people can really feel connected to their cesarean births. And I was working with someone at the weekend where I just sort of said, well, have you asked about a gentle cesarean? Didn't know I could. Well, yeah, you might be able to have music on, you might be able to watch. It's about what the options are available to you and what you're comfortable with, because some people don't want to watch. But do you want to read up on Wait for White? There's a fabulous website with loads of information on it on Wait for White. And I was like, so you can ask for all these things, and I I had a cesarean plan that I discussed with my consultant, because we had many discussions. I know her really, really well. Again, she's been my consultant for 3 pregnancies. And it's like, so we even had a plan that if it turned into an emergency cesarean, how that would be managed in a gentle way, so that I still felt in control, even in an emergency where things were slightly more panicked. And I felt more confident birthing at home, knowing that my wishes would be known to the team, even if they couldn't be completed.
And it's like having, because I mean, it's having that open-mindedness, isn't it? And this is, you know, my ideal scenario, but I am actually quite open that no, sometimes things do happen, and this is how, if in that scenario, this is how I want it to go. If not, I think it's all sort of down to mindset and everything as well, isn't it? How you enter the whole thing of sort of being adaptable yet in control and sort of knowing what's going to happen or what could happen without it being a freak out session, and so, well, you know, listing all the bad things or the sort of listen to all the sort of horror stories that people like to share so willingly sometimes, don't they? And it's like taking that on and respecting that, oh god, they had a really bad time, but not internalizing it and thinking, oh, is that gonna happen, and fester on it almost, isn't it?
We can't get away from it, from
Yeah.
our early days through to even one born every minute. Yeah, we are subjected to women laying on their backs, to stirrups, signs of screaming, burst blood vessels, tears. We're subjected to all of those sorts of things. And some cultures are worse than others for not giving nature a chance and booking intervention routinely. So, you know, all around the world, we've got medical intervention which has saved thousands of millions of lives, but it's also medicalized a normal natural phenomenon that got, the only reason we're here is because somebody gave birth naturally. You follow it back through your ancestors, the only reason we are here is because somebody gave birth naturally. It's, and you were one of the lucky ones that survived. Survived to breed. Because, you know, medical intervention has helped, but it has medicalized something that is really, really normal and can be peaceful, beautiful, and empowering.
Sad, and some of that I think it's sort of getting it sort of, you know, people being more aware now, but for a while it did just overtake the whole natural process, and everybody was going into hospital, nearly everybody was, you know, in a stark white room that had bright lights. And I mean, things are changing now, but it seemed that there was a point where that was the norm, you know, and anything different from that was like, well, you sure? And then that puts doubt into people's minds and thinking, oh, perhaps you are right then, perhaps I shouldn't do, you know, X, Y, and Z, perhaps I should just do what everybody else sort of says I should do. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, now there's sort of things are getting nice and more, bit more of a balance to them, aren't they? I think there's a lot more things, people are a lot more aware.
I'm very lucky. I had a midwife teach me hypnobirthing. A midwife from the hospital that I birthed in that taught me hypnobirthing. So I felt like I had some insider knowledge, and it it wasn't the most ideal hypnobirthing venue. It wasn't the most comfortable, but the knowledge base that I got was fantastic. So I was just wondering what your favourite stage of work is, like preconception, conception, postpartum, or early parenthood, or beyond.
Oh,
Like five options. Put you on the spot.
I think it's postpartum. I think it's postnatally, because a lot of the time I've worked with people right the way through. So, you know, I've not literally been there when they've conceived, but I've known when they've conceived. Then I'll see them through their pregnancy, and then I always seem to get called in right at the end because they don't want to be induced, or they get into that sort of time and they're really uncomfortable and just want it all over with. And then I see them afterwards, and I think it's the afterwards, because like we were saying before about you change as soon as, you know, how you are before pregnancy, while you're thinking about becoming pregnant, when you are pregnant, you know, there's all those different changes. And then once they become once they become parents and they've got their baby, it's like, oh, now it all sort of starts. And then you work with sort of both of them, the bonding and just seeing people how they change and grow after they've had their children. I think, and also about the person themselves, and then sort of remembering again, you know, you've got to look after yourself first. It sounds selfish. People might say, oh no, it's all about the way, but you've got to look after yourself first, because you're in charge of a little bean. You know, so, you know, and there's a lot of, you know, I think it's people have underestimated in the past about how important postnatal time is for women and parents, not just women but men as well. You know, the whole family, you know, siblings, uncles, aunts, the whole family dynamic just completely changes. And I think those, you know, those weeks afterwards are really, really important, and those months afterwards. And then you get to the first year, and then things start changing again. And as the baby changes, you then start changing again. So it's almost this constant, like, wheel. So we're sort of going round, you know, sort of going up different paths, and, you know, different things come up. You know, it's constant sort of challenges. I mean, I had sort of quite good challenges and not so good ones, but it is, I do like that post and beyond. So yeah, I think that's, I mean, pregnancy, yep, I love seeing, you know, and also giving that sort of confidence to parents and helping them relax so they can help themselves relax, because that's sort of my big thing as well. Is sort of, I tend not to have long-term clients. My clients see me when they need to, and we work together for a period of time, and then they're able to then carry on and go off and do their own thing, because I've taught them certain things sort of reflex wise or reiki wise, and then if they need my help again in the future, then they come back and we work together again, and then they carry on. We sort of like this things. So I like that bit as well, you know, sort of.
I suppose for me, I'm just feeling like the preconceptions are really treasured, sacred time, because it's often a time that people don't talk about, and that hope, wonder, possibility, devastation, the whole cycle of, is it now? No, it's not now. Is it now? No, it's not now.
I find that side the most emotional, the most almost like the most serious in a way, even though it's not serious. Well, it is, but you know, it's not like doom and gloom serious. I've found a lot of ups and downs of that. I mean, there's different techniques with whoever I'm working with, and I do find the preconception is very roller coastery, or can be very roller coastery. It's a lot more, I find it a lot more intense, because there's seems to be a lot more sort of intense emotions. It might just be the sort of people I work with. I mean, I have worked with people as well that were.
I think it's a very intense time for lots and lots of people. If it's been a long period of trying to get pregnant, and they're actually, like, even if they've had tests done and there's nothing physical, and yet it's not happening, and it's, I know so many couples who have had that roller coaster and got as far as almost adopting, and had, like, taken that pressure off themselves in that, okay, we've got our new plan now. It's not the plan that we've been working on. We've been really working on that plan, and you know, I can turn this alarm off on my phone now because we're not following me tracking anymore. We're not doing this position anymore. They've got drunk, they've had a takeaway, definitely not making their own babies. Nope, that's definitely not something that we're doing. And a couple of weeks later, they've ended up with a positive pregnancy test.
Planned their trek across America and Africa, and then all of a sudden, bing, have to cancel it.
I know that a lot of not a lot, there are those stories out there that when you kick back, take the pressure off, and having your own biological baby becomes less of an issue for you. It can happen.
And also as well through you know, couples that are going through IVF as well, that can be quite a tense emotional side as well, because obviously, you know, you get quite limited on, you know, some people are quite limited on how many sessions they can have, because it's, you know, it's the financial aspect, and that's then an extra worry. You've got the worry of, you know, the procedure itself, you've got the worry of this, worry of that. So I find sort of that's when, like, the reflex and Reiki really kick in well, because you just almost want to leave that at the door. It's like, right, that we know that's what's going on, that's what's happening, but let's just sort of regroup a little bit. Let's just sort of find out, you know, where you are again in all this, you know, what things are making you happy. Think of something, just, you know, get back to how you were before all this, you know, all the sort of paperwork, as I sometimes call it, started. Because it can get very much like that. It can get very well, clinical again. You know, sort of,
I'm
without,
also sort of drawn to talk about the anxiety around conceiving following loss as well, whether it's been early miscarriage, stillbirth, whether it's been an infant loss. There's an awful lot of anxiety around carrying that new pregnancy. And you become a mother on a pregnancy test. As soon as you know that you're pregnant, you've become a mother. So even if you never get to hold that baby in your arms, you became a mother to that child emotionally as soon as you knew that pregnancy was there. And you know, we're all mothers. So if you've never actually carried to term, you're still a mother. I just want to hug that person that's watching this, going, but mine never came. I want to hug you because they did, and they changed you just that little bit. They made their space in your heart.
Again, it's sort of right for, you know, you start changing from that, you say, that first little spark. And it does, everything changes, everything, like you said, whether it's full term or not, everything will still change. You never go back to not being, you know, a mother or not a mother, or, you know, that from that little instance, that's it, that's everything. Everything does change. I think that's why sort of part of me as well likes the therapy side, is because you can give people that space of just being themselves, for those little moments, you know, while everything else is going on around them, whether they're pregnant, whether they're trying, whether they're not, whether they've had children. It's giving people that little bit of space to actually explore either what's going on or just completely shut up on what's going on. Sometimes some people just like to just have a complete break from it. They don't want to talk about their pregnancy. All they want to do is just relax and be themselves, or how they were before they were pregnant, if you see what I mean. There's that little oasis they like to sort of drift out into.
So do you have any self-help tip that you can give a parent before we sign off on tonight's session?
Yeah, I think it's like you were saying about the breathing. I sort of a similar thing as well. Some things I don't know whether it's because I like things to be done quickly and instant results almost. But I'm very into sort of things that are going to work quite sort of quickly. So that, like you said about the breathing, just taking like 3 deep breaths in and then thinking, right, what am I going to do about this, or say, or, you know, just giving yourself that time to stop and focus for a couple of seconds. Another good one I've found as well is like a facial reflex one, is if you're feeling really drained and really stressed and you just can't sort of wind down almost, is to go across the eyebrows like you would your children sometimes, to go across there, and that just soothes out. This is represents also like your neck and your shoulders. So you go across and just do that a few times with the breathing, and that just helps sort of lower your sort of adrenaline, and you know, that sort of like tense feeling. And also right in the middle of your eyebrows, also as I was saying about instinct, you'll know when I sort of describe points to people, I'm saying you'll know when you've hit that spot, because it almost sort of feels a bit like oh yeah, that's it. And then just do tiny little circles. And sometimes I do this with just sort of closing my eyes. And sometimes and it's almost like you can feel yourself winding down. It doesn't matter what direction you're going, because your body will naturally, sometimes, am I going that way? Am I going that way? And it said your body will instinctively know which way to go, because that's what I'm going. So, you know, if I'm going that way, am I going the right way? It's like, no, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You'll know. You'll just know. And so you just do tiny little circles. You can do big circles. I found sometimes when I've been quite sort of, hadn't realised I was stressed, I think, oh, I just need to relieve that heaviness. Sometimes maybe they're doing it, and I'm sometimes I'm pressing like really hard, and I'm thinking, oh blimey, I must be really trying to sort of wind down. But yeah, in the middle of there, and then again just sort of sweeping the eyebrows, and a combination of those two can really sort of help, especially sort of at the end of the day. I mean, you can do it when you're sat on the loo, even if you've got loads of stuff outside the toilet and people banging on the door. You can just sit there and close your eyes and just almost like block your ears, sort of energetically block your ears, and then just do the circles and do that with the eyebrows. And then that just think, oh, okay, I can carry on now just for another. And then just do it as much as you want to, and it's sort of a good stress relief sort of going around like that.
Fantastic. So we've had Indian head massage on a previous show. We've had a sinus massage on a previous show.
Oh yeah.
And now we have the stress
wind down.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm just going to close off with a note from our sponsors. That's just really cheesy. Don't forget to subscribe. Press here. I do need to do those things so that people can follow and share, and you know, that is really valuable information that we've talked about tonight. So if I come back into sharing here, so just to end tonight, I do support my family by retailing Enya, which helps clean homes 6 times better. It is 100% carbon neutral. It is easier to clean with Enya. It is faster to clean with Enya. And the only reason that I have anything that resembles a home is because I teach my children how to clean, and they know the value of cleaning, because they're not told that you can't clean the bathroom because it's chemicals. They're told that you can go forth and clean up your own mess. Thank you for putting a whole tube of toothpaste all over the sink. Now you can learn some science and have a little experiment on using friction to remove the toothpaste from the sink. It seems expensive, but when you look at the fact that it's £79 to clean your bathroom for 3 years, when you break that down into a weekly cost, it's actually a lot cheaper. So it's a way of saving money. You're not having to buy products. You're not having to have the space in your home to store the products that you might be using. I think we've all had or have cupboards full of bottles and bottles and bottles of things that all do all wonderful and amazing things that don't actually work as it said it did on the telly. This is just water and a fuzzy glove, and I'm pretty sure you've got some water in your taps, and then they go through the washing machine and you can reuse them again. It is available as a business for anyone that's struggling, or if you're wanting to have something new, you can join from £99. It is a completely different way to clean. So that's why I do education with people. I do a Zoom call with you and your friends, and I can help you save some money on buying Enya as well. So thank you very much for watching. I am Nurse Rachel, and I really love doing these Wellbeing Wednesday sessions. There is a back catalogue on YouTube to have a watch of if you've watched this one. And if Anita has touched your heart in any way, please do get in touch with her. She lives in Southampton, and she's a mobile reflexologist and Reiki master. She also trains people how to do Reiki, which she hasn't even talked about tonight. But yeah, check her out. Her links will be in the comments, and if you want to send her a message and say thank you, or if you want to book a session with her, want to talk to her further, please do get in touch. And if you want to give me a thank you, then go to ko-fi.com and Parent Sanctuary and buy me a coffee for a £3 donation. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.